I had two separate events with shadow people. First time was back in 2005. It was about 4 a.m. in the morning, pitch black, and I was asleep in my bedroom. I was awakened by a voice telling me in a whisper, "Don't open your eyes, it's still here." So naturally, I freaked out and opened my eyes, but when I went to get up off my bed, I couldn't. I was pinned to my bed and couldn't move a single muscle. Arms, legs, even my mouth was frozen shut so I couldn't cry for help. I also couldn't breathe, like there was something covering my nose and mouth. The voice spoke again and said, "Recite the Hail Mary." I couldn't move my mouth, but I struggled to form the words for that prayer. Finally, after my third try to recite it, I regained control of my body, and the words of the prayer just poured out of my mouth like a dam had burst. After that night, it took me months to go to sleep in that room. Instead, I slept in the living room with the lights and TV on. When I did go back to sleep in that room, I had the lights on, the door open, a radio on, and not to push religion on anyone, a crucifix hung over my bed. To this day, I still sleep with lights on even after learning about sleep paralysis. It's not something I ever want to experience again, and it remains the single most terrifying thing that ever happened to me. Second encounter was back in 2021. I was living in a new apartment, and I nodded off on my recliner in the living room one night. I had a dream that I had left my body and was walking through my apartment when I saw something dark move in my bedroom down the hall. I walked down the hall and was confronted by a shadow person. Upon seeing me, it immediately began to go for me, and I hurried back to my living room, where I knew my body was asleep. I remember thinking I would be okay if I made it back to my body in time. Just as my dream self sat back in my recliner and merged with my physical body, I saw the shadow person on top of me, and it shoved its hand into my chest. It was a deep burning sensation, like the worst heartburn or acid reflux you ever had, and my body began vibrating. I immediately woke up and the burning sensation was still there, and I was quivering uncontrollably. I just sat there gasping for breath and trying to get my heart rate back under control. After I did, I fell back asleep, and when I woke up next morning, I was unsure whether it really happened, or if I was having an intense dream within a dream. While I am sure the first encounter happened, I'm skeptical if the second one did, but if it didn't, it sure felt real.
The other night I went to bed before my GF. I have to wake up super early every morning, but she woke me up crying after about 2 hours, asleep, and said she went to open our hall door into the bathroom, and it felt like someone was pressing against it and it wouldn't open. So I get up, go, and knock the door open. It normally barely latches, let alone well enough to stick or anything. I was a little freaked, because it literally is a pain to close sometimes. But we have to keep it closed to keep cats from destroying our bathroom plants. I go into the bathroom and check it out. Then I go around the rest of the house and check everything out to ease both our minds. I end up going back to sleep. A few hours later, I pop awake and see this shadow figure standing in our bedroom doorway. I try to yell and wake my GF up, but I can't get a sound out. I try reaching for my bedside bat and I can't find it. I try yelling some more. No sound. I try to nudge my GF, but my other arm won't move. Next thing I know, I'm falling off the bed while staring at this thing in the doorway. When I hit the ground, I pop awake and realize I was having a sleep paralysis dream. My GF woke up and was asking what was wrong and what happened, and I just told her I fell off the bed. She probably wouldn't have slept the rest of the night. If I told her what just happened, every time I go to open or shut that hallway door now, though, I get thoroughly creeped out, especially if I feel any resistance in the door.
My first shadow experience was in California. When I was 16, I had the master bedroom with a sliding glass door and patio. I was settling down for bed one night when my cat burrows under the covers, which he never did. My dog, a Rottweiler Pit Bull mix who was absolutely my best friend and guard dog, was laying on the floor beside the bed. She starts growling softly about the time my cat is getting under the blanket. She stands up and starts walking to the glass door, and I'm thinking maybe there's a squirrel. Then I see the shadow of a man through the curtain. Even more alarming, I was on the second floor, and my dad hadn't gotten home from work yet, so it was just me and my baby sister, so was 7 at the time. I didn't want to scare her, and in fact, over 20 years later, I have still to tell her, so I kept very quiet. I grabbed the baseball bat that my dad kept at the top of the stairs, between my bedroom and his, then went and threw open the patio curtains. There was no one there. Even the dog looked confused. I closed the curtain, and there it was again. I opened the curtain back up, and me, the dog, and the cat stayed buried under my blankets until Dad got home. I never told him this either. When we moved to Oregon a year later, after seeing that shadow a few more times, I was relieved to get away from it. But I started seeing shadows here too. I swear it was the one from California. It burned a different cat's paw when I was 20. But I haven't seen a single one since shortly after I met my now ex-husband in 2006. For some reason, I always noticed a distinct lack of spirit activity when he was around. Only one place did spirits seem to react to him, and that was the old cemetery by the University of Oregon. The residents there don't like him one bit. It always boggled my mind. But after the divorce, I realized they probably don't like him because he is pure evil. But if that keeps the shadows far the fuck away from me, even though he's off, ruining the lives of other women in the Eugene area, then I'll take that particular legacy.
My best friend passed away due to suicide in March of 2016, and I took it very hard. A few weeks after her funeral, I was dreaming about our last vacation together and all of our happy memories. All of a sudden it turned dark and there were people crawling out from under the bed in my dream. I woke up and couldn't move. To my right was my best friend's face, except it was the face from her funeral. After that, had to sew some major reconstruction to make her recognizable. Then I looked at me and there was a black figure holding down my chest and putting pressure on me. This went on for almost 5 minutes. I tried to scream over and over, but I could only move my eyes. I literally cried like a baby for hours and slept in between my parents. I was a senior in high school. I didn't sleep alone for weeks and moved in with my boyfriend, now husband, as soon as I could, so I never had to be alone like that again. I know that someone of it was my brain still projecting my dream, but I don't see how anything from my dream could hold me down on my chest. The house that I grew up in had a very uneasy feeling. I had several small experiences, and I feel that there could have possibly been a shadow, a person that liked to hang out in our main floor bedroom. Anytime I was in the living room or dining room alone, I would think I saw someone in the bedroom door. There were a few other areas that some weird things happened, but that was the most common. My parents still live there, but I still will not be there alone if I can avoid it. My sister had similar experiences, but no one else in our family that we know of.
When I was 15, my father was working in Nigeria for a couple years and had brought back some African masks and sculptures. These masks were wood-carved long faces, and I had a sculpture of a man thinking they looked normal, but for some reason, they made me really uncomfortable. Strange, very subtle things would start happening, but it took my family a while to notice it was because of the masks. My grandmother had some masks, as well my cousin, and I would see these black shadows that dart across doorways, and whenever you looked, you'd miss them. I would also get sleep paralysis and sleepwalk, which I never do. We later found out my father got the masks from a black magic place. My mother gave the ones we had to a priest who apparently got rid of them a specific way. Now, I don't believe in ghosts or are religious, but I cannot explain what that experience was. But the fact that my other family members experienced it too, it means it had to be real. I haven't seen or had any other experiences since then, but my grandmother still has masks in her house, and she ended up passing away years ago. My grandfather caught dementia, and my aunt that lives there now has gone insane. I'm really skeptical, but I wonder if it's because the masks are still there.
It's 2008. My mom and I, 8, are in the living room watching X-Files. The episode's about twins. I remember it so well. You can see directly into the bedroom and bathroom. I share with my younger brother, 4, through the foyer from the couch. The bathroom light was on, but the bedroom light was off, so it was dim. All of a sudden, the hairs on my mum's entire body stood straight up. Through the doorway there was a dark but solid figure. No feet just seemed to move smoothly or swiftly glide. From one side of the room, my bed, to the other side where my brother was sleeping. Our house is 200+ years old, with high doors, 30 feet tall ceilings. The figure was large enough to block every bit of light coming from the bathroom as it moved across the room. My mom and I both looked at each other slowly, but I could tell she was waiting for my reaction. She asked me if I saw that too. I was 9 and had nightmares often. I still do, and I still live in my childhood home. We did check on my brother, BC, that's where the figure vanished into, and he was sleeping fine. I know for a fact I was not asleep, neither was my mom. After reading this thread, I'm realizing now what was happening to me as a child. Terrible nightmares, paralysis, every single night. And I remember every single one. Just had one 3 nights ago. I was sitting in my dining room in the dark, and something invisible threw me about 6 feet straight up with the speed of a car crash, then launched me across the room. Only thing I know to work is to scream as loud and hard as possible in my dream. that I will scream, actually sounds like guttural cries from my throat in real life, and wake myself up with my own screams. It is a terrible feeling to be trapped somewhere else,